Welcome to the Stone Table. This isn't a stage, it's a gathering place. Here, lifters of all kinds bring their stories. The heavy, the honest, and the hard-earned. Real voices, real weight. Shared like a good pour among friends. Recorded in Ontario, Canada, and open to lifters everywhere. Sláinte.
Welcome back. Starting with last week's episode, we began to delve in to Peter J. Martin's work, Twixt the Stone and the Turf, an understanding of Gaelic strength and stone lifting to get a better historical understanding and accuracy of Gaelic stone lifting. This week, we're diving into one of the most misunderstood ideas in Scottish stone lifting history, the myth of the manhood stone. If you spend any time online, you've probably seen the same story. Young men lifting a heavy stone to prove themselves, earn a cap, place a feather in it, and be welcomed into adulthood. It's a tidy story. It's romantic. It's dramatic. It's easy to repeat. But as we'll hear in this passage, easy stories are not always true stories. We start at page 7, where the book begins to challenge modern myth-making. It asks us to separate romantic legend from historical context, to respect language, and to understand that Scotland's lifting stones belong to different areas, different communities, and different purposes. Not every stone was a rite of passage. Not every tradition can be reduced to one phrase. And not every website gets it right. This passage is important because it reminds us that preserving stone lifting means preserving accuracy as much as it does preserving stones themselves. We're not just lifting weight, we're lifting history. And next week, we'll continue this dialogue, and we'll explore 2 distinct Scottish timeframes in greater depth, the world of the Highland clan system before Culloden and the transformed Scotland that followed after 1746. To understand the stones, we have to understand the people and the world that made them. Reading from page 7. Nowhere is this seen more than in the thousands of websites and indeed in some books that refer to the Scottish stones of strength as manhood stones. With some aplomb and with some literary abandon, various statements about the stones are now allegedly fact, but most of these are ascribed without any resource to either history, culture of language. We have today the absurd notion that all lifting stones in Scotland were lifted for and a result of the following. Lifting stones were lifted to prove manhood. The stone required to be at least a predetermined weight and size and required to be lifted to a certain height. That lifting the heavy stone allowed the youth to wear a cap and put a feather in it. That all stones were known as clachuid fear or manhood stones. These statements do have some elements of truth. However, they have been understood in an incorrect context and also have not been ascribed to a particular time frame of Scottish history. Firstly, not all stones of strength are manhood stones because many are not old enough to have a particular facet of culture applied to them. Secondly, the lifting requirements of lifting a heavy stone to enter manhood have been somewhat exaggerated to the extreme, as is the cultural reason for lifting in the first place, with some romantic notion of being welcomed into manhood being regularly applied. The fact that 2 specific Gaelic cultural requirements have been merged together to form this misunderstanding will later be discussed in the chapter on manhood. But some important facets of Gaelic culture seem to have been overlooked in many of these assertions. The nomenclature of the stones, clachuid fear, is either a neglected or ignorant view of the Gaelic language, in that the language itself was not, and still today is not, generic. The fact that most of the spoken Gaelic tongue, a high degree of illiteracy prevailed, caused many regional and area dialects of the spoken word to the extent that one word in D-side may mean something completely different in Southeast. There is indeed a vast terminology of language applied to the stones of strength, which is far more colorful and certainly more meaningful than the simplicity of clachuid fear. This is where time frame becomes extremely important in understanding. The history of Scotland is well known and understood, but not in relation to strength, although it too runs contemporaneous with history. In Scotland, or more importantly in the Highlands and Islands, strength culture can be put in two specific time frames. The time of the Highland clan system, which for simplicity's sake, at its height was pre-1746 and before the Battle of Culloden, and post-1746, and in particular the 19th century period of improved agricultural systems and the suppression of Gaelic culture, which existed pre-1746. And that's the end of this week's discussion. We'll pick it up next week and talk about how these two distinct times in history impacted how we reference stones and stone lifting. Welcome back to the Stone Table Podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Innes. Today's guest is someone deeply rooted in the world of traditional strength. Martin Gallagher is a stone lifter out of Ireland whose approach to training reflects something older, working with natural stones, grip strength, kettlebells, and the kind of lifting that isn't standardized. He's also part of a community reconnecting with Ireland's historic Clochnaird, including the Clochnaird in Donegal, and a moment tied to the revival of a nearly forgotten tradition. Beyond lifting, there is also a quieter and different side to him: music, consistency, and a clear focus on doing work without chasing the attention. This felt like the kind of conversation that goes beyond numbers and PRs and what it really means to be part of this strength community. So welcome, Martin.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. As I start off with every guest, what do you have for our sláinte today?
Tea.
A tea, excellent.
Tea. But I also have for our final sláinte before we leave, I have some fairy filtered poaching from the wilds of Connemara as well.
That's amazing. Well, I'm starting off not with tea. I'm going right into to the good stuff. So I've got some Lafrague today, and two ice. That's acceptable, I understand. So with that in mind, Martin's shaking his hand. That's iffy. So with that in mind, sláinte, as we start off the episode. All right, Martin. We have been talking for weeks about this episode, and I am very, very excited about it. So for those that don't follow you, and I'm sure that most of our audience does follow you, but just provide us like a bit of a background on who you are outside of stone lifting and the years leading up to that first stone that you lifted.
Yeah, well, I used to work as a stonemason a long time ago, and a few things happened to me along the way, and I had to kind of do a change of lifestyle. I was diagnosed with diabetes at 27 years of age, and the heavy work of the stones that I was doing at the time was affecting it. So I decided for a wee change in lifestyle, and I ended up becoming an outdoor instructor, coaching kayaking, canoeing, bit of sailing, bit of indoor climbing, and just generally working with groups with all ranges of abilities. And then I did that for, like I said, did it for about 14 years. And it's obviously I got married and had kids, so I had to get a real job. But while I was working in that industry, I really fell in love with working with groups with learning difficulties and disabilities. I really fell in love with it. So when I left the job, I kind of tried to get a job in that career, and eventually I did. And that's what I work at the moment. I work with adults with extreme learning difficulties. So I do, and I suppose I've never really had a background in weight training or anything like that. You know, anything I ever done, because we were always out on the water. We didn't have to train much because you were always doing stuff every day. But yeah, then I was sitting here at home one night, sitting drinking a cup of tea, watching the Tommy Tiernan show on telly, and I seen David Keown come on, and
Ah.
it was like sticking your finger in a socket. It was just this bolt of, well, what's this all about? I remember sitting up on the seat and saying to my wife Louise, "Turn that TV up a wee second, please," because she always has the controller. And
Don't we all? Yes.
so yeah, David came on and he was chatting about this revival, and he was telling a story to Tommy Tiernan, and I was just engulfed in what he was talking about, about stones and all this, and this real kind of emotion came over me, like when if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
I need to look more into this, and me being me, the next day I was straight on to Instagram. Well, I was on Instagram before the show had finished, looking up Indiana Stones, and I just got on and I started messaging David, and me, me being me, I went up to my friend's house. He lives up in the hills here, and he has loads of stones around his house. And I was up lifting all these stones and sending videos, to David, probably pestering him more than anything else. But yeah, and David organised the first tour. Well, the tour I went on, it was down in the west of Ireland, along the coast of Galway and Connemara, and out on the Inishmore Island. And it was when we were on the Inishmore Island, and there were well, firstly, I discovered that I couldn't lift any more than 80 or 90 kg. I wasn't as strong as what I thought I was. I was big, but I wasn't as strong as what I thought I was. So I said to the guys there, I says, "Look, I'm going to use this day to question you about everything you are doing, because I want to know what you are doing, the technique you are using, why you are doing it that way, because I, to myself, I just wanted to get better at this. This was something that I had to delve more into and get more involved with. And it was when we were out on the island, and uh, David, everybody was having a wee go, breaking the ground, getting it up to the lees. David went and lifted it, and he got it up to close up on his chest. Not enough to kiss it, but close enough up on his chest. And it was the highest he'd ever got at the time. But when he put the stone down, he went out, like he got his knee beside it, and he was very emotional. And that
Mm.
emotion, that feeling of emotion, I'm maybe getting emotional now talking about it, but it just filled every sense of my being. Like it was like, oh, it was just like an overwhelming feeling of, first of all, what was this feeling? But it was
Mhm.
just, and everybody felt it. Even my friend that was with me, who'd be a very, you know, one answer kind of guy, kind of straight, straight talking guy, wouldn't show much emotion. His partner rang me a couple of days after we came back, saying, "What happened on that weekend?" He says, "Drew was talking about it, and he's saying it was so emotional and everything, like." And it was, and that was the worm on the end of the hook that that got me. And when I came home from that, I just I went to the gym. I booked a 12-week strongman training session, and I've just been training and getting stronger since. And
So was that in like 2023 or
that
what?
that
When
was
was that interview
that was
based off
2 years ago in May.
of?
2 years in May, and
Mm.
a lot has happened in 2 years.
Oh, yeah, because you know, when I'm on the interwebs, like I really see you as synonymous with Irish stone lifting. And so I have in my mind before this chat, like I thought like you were one of, amongst those first that were starting to lift. I would say that would be probably true, correct, Martin?
Yeah, probably true. Yeah,
And so when you were on that tour, you're new, you don't know what's going on. Like, do you remember some of the first questions that you asked and, what the responses were? And who else was on that tour with you that we might know?
John Travels Lift Repeat was on it.
Oh, so he
He
was on
he
that
was
tour
on it.
as well?
He was on that tour as well.
Oh my
So
God.
you can imagine the emotion, like
Oh,
when
yeah.
because I remember, and I still have a video of John picking up the mullen stone, and he's like this. He's turning around, holding it. Yeah, up there by you, he was shouting like, and
Oh my God.
it was absolutely amazing. And like there was a guy, Connor Kenny, and
Mm-hmm.
Connor Kenny, uh,
Yep.
he's probably one of the strongest stone lifters in Ireland. So he was
Yep.
a man of great strength. And then there was Tiernan Kenny, another
Mm-hmm.
fantastic stone lifter, very strong in the strongman world as well. So he is. And there was also Andy. Ah, I can't. Andy Dowes. Andy. Andy's a fantastic guy too. Like he's like John, very small in stature, but very, very, very powerful and very strong. And there was who else? There was there was an actual Irish Shanahy there. So there was.
Wow.
I can never pronounce his second name right. Sean McLeishborough or Sean McLeishborough. I can't pronounce it right, so it's open for correction if anybody wants to. But I remember him being there, and every time we went to an area, he was he would tell you a story. He would tell you a story about the area, and like I remember on the island, him telling us a story about these wee lovely, beautiful wee flowers that grew out between the limestone, and they were dotted all over the place. And he told us this beautiful poem, but he told us it in Irish, and then it was told in English,
Oh,
and it was absolutely amazing. And I
that's
still remember
beautiful.
one of the very, very funny ones. It was the first two stones that we went to. They were known as the anchor stones, and one was like a big polished piece of granite, but the other was like it was it kind of looked like that, right?
Oh, okay.
It kind of looked like a meteor, and his exact words were, the difference of these two stones, he says, the polished one came from the sea and the other one fell from the sky. So it was, and it was just, it set up the whole day. If you know what I
Ugh,
mean. And that's
yeah.
that's what I loved about it. But I suppose the questions that I was putting forward was all about technique. Technique, wanting to know the position to be in, where to be standing. You know, what's considered. What was a good lift, what was a bad lift, and as David says to me, there's no such thing as a bad lift. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
and yeah, it was just spending that day with those guys it was just like it's it was real emotional. It was real. It was that what I realize now. And what we all kind of realize now. I think the whole lot of us that were there on the island that day and on that tour was that it was the start, maybe, of what was to become what is now the bigger community of stone lifters in Ireland, which I have to say is absolutely growing from that to, you can't see the hands, but they're way out here.
Yeah. No, it has. It's absolutely exploded. And I feel like every day I get on, to the web and there's another stone that has been found in Ireland. And let's just talk a little bit about that and the Irish like this the history of stone lifting and how you would think that it's maybe different from what we see in, Scotland or Sweden, Iceland.
Well, I suppose Irish stone lifting, what I've discovered my own thing on it, like it goes back thousands of years. Like there's probably a deeper culture, I even think, in stone lifting at the moment, or there's a deeper culture in stone lifting in Ireland than probably what we even realize. It probably went back a lot further than you know some of the stones tell us.
Hmm.
Like there's a stone that's not far from me, the scalp stone, and like that stone's 2,500 years old. Like That's going back to times like Newgrange and things like that. That's,
Hmm.
there's a deep, deep, deep connection to the past through lots of these stones. All of these stones, like, and even, like, and there's also that link, there's that link to mythology as well that come with the stones. Like, there's a stone in Mayo called the Giant Stone that has the fingerprints of a giant in it. He's supposed to have thrown it from a local area and it landed where it is. There is the Sephin Stone up here in Ulster. It's not far from here. And it's supposed to be thrown by the old mythological giant Finn McCool. He threw it at another
Ah,
he
yes.
threw it at
Yeah.
another giant, and it used to be it was used to inaugurate chieftains. So it was. Now, unfortunately, a couple of probably potching drinking lads on the way home from uh, a thing went up and tried to lift it one time back in the 1800s, and it's documented and all, I think. And they tried to lift
Wow.
the stone and pushed it off the mountain because they couldn't, they couldn't lift it. So they thought, oh well, and pushed it down the hill. But thanks to David and a couple of guys, it was found again a few years ago, and it's it's there to be lifted when the permission's given.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're just referencing, a number of the well-known stones in preparation for this conversation. I actually watched Connor and them lift a whole bunch of these stones, and you yourself have lifted a phenomenal amount of historic ones, and you were involved in lifting Donegal's first documented clochneart, the Cloch Nawerg, alongside David. And I think I want to talk about that moment and reconnecting, what it felt like reconnecting with one of Ireland's oldest traditional rituals.
It was fantastic. And it's still, even I think about the ones that I've helped rediscover. It's so fantastic. But to find that one in the actual town, in the actual area where I come from, so I did, and it was not long after the first tour, and I was chatting back and forth with David, really letting him know that I wanted to be a part of this. I wanted to help rediscover and try to find these stones and get it back into people's consciousness. But he sent me a link that was sent to him about this lifting stone, and he passed it on to me. And of course, like a detective, I started looking into it right away, and I started asking, you know, people at home, did they know about it? And of course, all the older people that I knew were all going, Jesus, no, we never heard of that, and never heard of this stone. What are you talking about? Lifting stones and all this, like. And I, I was kind of didn't really know where to go because even the pin drop that was given to where the stone was actually a house on a pier. And I thought,
Hmm.
because I was down looking at it, and I knew the guy who's living in the house now. But I was asking, I was like, oh, has this been put back in? Asking people, but people didn't know. But then uh, wondering to myself, oh, has this been put back into the ground, or has it been built into a wall, or has it been done and all this? So it kind of lay dormant for a wee while, as other things were going on. And then I got in touch with a girl called Sarah Curran from up at home. And Sarah says that no, the stone is still there. And the guy that told her about it was a local man from the area who's actually passed away now. Donald Barr was his name. So he was, and so I went back up and I thought, if it's still there, maybe it's not exactly where the pin is. Maybe it's further over. Now you got to remember, Gidor it's just miles and miles of sand dunes, and there is granite, rocks, and boulders everywhere. So it is. And I went walking. I headed off walking one day, and I went up onto the top of a wee hill to kind of look down to see if there was anything that would stand out that this stone was there. But as I got up onto the top of the hill, on this big flat ground. It sits on a big granite bed. So it does. And there, sitting right in the middle of this, was this stone. And I was thinking to myself, I had my brother-in-law with me, like, and I think that's the cloth in the world. And he's going, how do you know? I says, well, we'll go over and have a look. And I tried to lift it at that time, and I couldn't even budge it off the ground at the time. And I says to him, have a go at that. And he's trying to lift it. I says, the reason I think that's it, I says, because if I'm not shifting it and you're not shifting it, like, who put it there? Why was it put?
Mhm.
Why was it put there? Or why does it sit in the middle? Pardon me, of this bedrock. And when you go to this place, there's actually stones that are deeply buried, but they sit round almost like seating points around this. And so I went back and I got in touch with Sarah, and I says, Sarah, I think I found cloth in the warwick. And she's going, well, I'll come down and we'll go and have a look. So she came down with her mum, who fantastic Irish speakers and knew so much about the local area, the history and everything about the local area, which was amazing to me too, find out all this extra information. But when we went down, she says it was confirmed, yeah, that's Clough in the Warwick, like. And I went over to it again and tried to have another lift of it. Now, Rebecca, this stone is so coarse. Like, it it would tear the hands off you, it would tear the arms off you. It's so coarse. But like that, I couldn't budge it. Didn't get any movement on it. But I got in touch with David and I says, David, I found Clough in the Warwick. And he was like, it was like throwing candy to a baby. David was just, right, I'm coming up. We're going to arrange this, such and such. So David landed up, and the two of us left here in the morning. And while we are going down to Clough in the Warwick, and we'll get to this again, but I actually took him to other stones that I rediscovered in the meantime. But we went to Clough in the Warwick, and I had posted on the local page for the Gweedore area that about this, and there was about 5 or 6 people turned up. No, well, I mean more, maybe about 7 or 8 people turned up, including Sarah and her mum. And local other guys that, when I got out of the car, they were all, oh, Martin, how's it going? This is great. And it was fantastic. But we were walking up to where we got up to where the stone was sitting, but I hadn't told David where the stone was exactly. But I stopped, and I stopped everybody, and I says, David, I want you to walk on yourself. I says, I want you to walk on up there yourself and have a look. And David walked off, and one of the guys beside me, he said it in Irish, he says, well, you know what it is? I says, he's like a bloodhound. I says, you just watch. And David
Mhm.
walked up, and we were walking maybe about 10 meters behind him, and he was walking up on his own, and next thing he just, the hand went out with the finger like that there, and he pointed straight at the stone, like. And I'm getting emotional now even talking about it. But I remember going up and standing along with them, and the local ones telling us then that Clough in the Warwick actually meant the stone of sorrow, the stone of desire. And what the locals used to do is they would lift it if they had a desire, or if they had a wish. And it wasn't like a silly wish, like, oh, I want loads of money, or I want this, that, there. It was like what you needed at the time, whether you were going out fishing, you wanted good fish, you wanted good harvest, you wanted good luck, or the other way about, the stone of sorrow. It might have been if you wanted maybe something bad to happen to somebody, you know. But we'd like to think it more in the other way, that it was done as a thing
Yeah.
that it was lifted as a stone of desire. And I remember David went over and lifted it, and as he pulled it up onto his knees, he felt the coarseness right away. It cut into his leg, and he was, oh, Jesus, and he put it back down. And I went over and I broke the ground with it. I got it maybe about 2 inches off the ground, and it was just like a flood of emotion just came through, because I do get very emotional about the whole stone lifting. but just this flood of emotion to be standing there where, you know, could have been ancestors of my own, you
Hmm.
know, because I have a lot of family in the area. So it could have been ancestors of my own were down there, lifted that stone and everything. And it was really a defining, it was like a lot of stone lifters talk about, and David especially, and you'll find the Irish stone lifters talk about it a lot, is that reconnection, that putting your hands where people have put their hands before. But they lifted the stone for a reason. They just didn't lift it because it was a stone. They lifted it because it meant something to them. It meant something to the community as well, that, that was around them. And yeah, it was just fantastic to even break the ground with that stone. And then chatting with all the locals, and they were over the moon. They all came and they all had a go. Even the local priest was there, and Father Brian, and he came down and he went to have a go of it and everything. Like, I I think it was more them knowing that this was there and the story behind it. It just brought everybody together. That thing is
That's incredible.
that thing of community. But yeah,
How much does that stone weigh?
that stone weighed in at 164 kg. So it did. And a defining moment with that stone for me was when I organised the very first Ulster tour, and we had, I think we had close to maybe 20, 15 to 20 lifters come round with us, and Tiernan Canny
Yes.
chested the stone. You've probably seen on my Instagram, but
Yeah.
Tiernan Canny chested that stone, and just emotion was just running through me. It was just absolutely fantastic. Andy Downs got seeing other people get fantastic lifts, and yeah, it really reconnects you to what it must have been like back then as well, when the community came together and tried to do it, cheering each other on and support. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
very special, yeah.
There's this word along my stone lifting journey that I've picked up, and it's a Welsh word. It's called hiraeth. And for me, for what hiraeth means is a longing for a place that you have never been. And when I lift stone, and I feel like, again, I get emotional with it too, is that when I go back to Scotland and I lift those stones, I have that feeling of hiraeth, for a longing to go back to this place that I am, but that I've never been. Like, I've never lifted these stones. I've never met the people that have lifted these stones, but there's this deep longing, and it's both a happiness, and yet there's also a sorrow there as well. Um for, all of the things that all of, whether it be Ireland or Scotland, and the clearances and all of that, what our and the famines, what our ancestors had to deal with, and yet they still, would go and pick up these stones and find meaning. And really, I think it's that meaning. Viktor Frankl wrote a wrote a book on that, and it's The Search of Meaning. And I think that courses through most stone lifters, is that search for meaning, that search for identity, that search for connection back to a place um, that you've never been. But you've also connected to other stones. So not only have you lifted this stone, but you have discovered other ones along with, on your own, and along and contributing to what David has found. Talk to us about some of those other ones that you've also put back into either circulation or, have had people lift.
The three that I found and helped it back into circulation, all were found in Donegal, my home county. The There was one. Now this, it's actually, I think it's the only gripping stones. So they were. I got a lead because David had actually heard about these stones, but he never got a chance to check them out. So like that too, he passed it on to me. knowing I was from Donegal, and of course I went searching, and I actually tracked down a local heritage group in the area that knew about these stones because of the site they were on. It was actually it's an actual heritage site. So I went up one weekend and I had my wife and my kids and a few friends came with me as well. We were all the way doing a wee camp out, uh, as you do in the summer. And I asked them, "Oh, do you want to come up here and go looking for these stones?" And they're all kind of going, "Sure, what else would you be at, huh?" So they followed me up across this mountain, and I mean, we went deep into this mountain. Like, there was one or two wee speckled houses. Of I say wee speckled houses. There was a few houses speckled about the area, but you were deep in the mountains. And I took the wrong road. I ended up parking at a different spot. If I'd have parked at the right spot, we were up at it in 5 minutes. But where I parked, it took us about 45 minutes to get to where it was, through bogland and everything. But it was great. And we landed down, and the site that these stones sat on was they would write that this site went back to, I think it was Neolithic or Metallithic or something like that there, but you can still see there's an old door frame. So there is on the site of where the old tomb used to be. Now it's hard to make out now where the tomb would have been, but it was definitely an old it would have been an old probably Druid site or pagan site before Christianity came in, and then after that, then there was a church on the site, and they had these stones, two gripping stones, and you had to pick them up at the altar and stand with them, arms down by your side, gripping onto these two stones, walk down to the wee holy well, which was about maybe uh 30, no, it would have been more than probably about 40 meters away, and back up 3 times without dropping them. And it was a sign of virility, a sign of strength. The site itself, like, was it was it had a very dark background to it. So it did. Newborn babies were buried in this site, or unborn babies were buried in this site, and any child that passed away, they, instead of burying them in the local church, because if they weren't baptized, they weren't allowed to be born, or they weren't allowed to be buried on holy
Sure.
ground. So what they
Yeah.
used to do is, at the time, because there was probably a lot of deaths and all this here, they used to still take the babies up and bury them in this site where these stones sat. And I think it was done right up to the 1960s.
Hmm.
So it was, but when I went up and discovered these stones, they weren't actually sitting at the altar. I actually had to look about, and I found them sitting away down round at the side. So they were kind of sitting on their own. And the reason I knew they were the gripping stones is because everything else was like flat limestone type of stones, and these were the only two rounded stones, and they were maybe about that size. Like, they're a hard grip to do. So that day I had to go with it. It took me a few attempts, but I managed to get up and down 3 times with it. And the we left, and I contacted David, and it was that was he. We fitted it into Clough and the Warwick. So on the day we were going to see the Clough and the Warwick stone, pardon me, I took him to the Dysart graveyard first, like. But when you go into this place, and I said it to David, I says, "David, do you get a funny feeling in here? Like, do you get a feeling while you're in here?" He says, "I bloody do." He says, "I got it the minute I came over that wee bridge." I says, and it wasn't like it was like you were being watched.
Hmm.
It was a feeling like you were being watched, but it wasn't like a bad feeling. And the two of us felt the exact same thing, because we both talked about it going down in the car to Gallagher. And then I brought Connor Kenny up and my mate Drew, and I never said none to them about the feeling, feeling. But I asked them when they were there, and they says, yeah, that they all got this feeling. And when I brought the Ulster tour up there, there was a few guys in the Ulster tour says there's something eerie about that place. There's like a feeling. I says it's not an eerie feeling you're feeling. I says it's just a feeling of there's something like there's something there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I love the whole spirituality side of stone lifting, like, and to have that feeling when you go to certain places, it's just yeah, it just really cements in that connection to your past and to the things that went on, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, that's it. And so how heavy are those then?
we didn't actually weigh them at all. We haven't got a chance to weigh them, and sometimes I just think maybe not being weighed is a good thing too. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. But they're circuit, like they're spheres, are they?
yeah, no, they're like how would I describe them? They're almost like c- cylindrical,
Oh, okay.
but oval shaped as well, and their circumference, you know, and it just like when you're gripping across the top, it's literally that part of your finger that's gripping it, like, and it's your thumb that you have to dig in these to get the grip. And like I say, I've seen loads of people come up and guys with big long fingers, and then there's guys that have good grip strength, have no problem with it. But the walk itself that's where the challenge is. It's not so much in the grip because you're walking down through boggy, mossy, wet ground. So the minute you take off and you get down to the bottom of the walk and you step into the water, you're kind of whoop, and next thing you're having to balance and you're having to think of more than just your grip while you're walking.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a beautiful and still is a beautiful place. You know, I would even when I'm going home, I would call in and go up there just to check on the stones, even just to make sure they're still there. You know, and just absorb the area and the quietness and the serenity of it. Like,
What I'm trying to understand is that there's just so many of, like, every stone seems to have a story in Ireland, and there's so many. Like, what do you think the history of that is? Like, why do you think that's so different compared to other nations that stone lift?
I I don't know if it's so much a difference as it was it was just our way.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like everybody, like we could turn around and say the same thing. Why was the Scottish one so different to ours or
Yeah.
that there? But I suppose it's just the way the people were at the time and how they thought and how they seen things and how they appreciated things.
Yeah, I love it's so it's kind of romantic. Like I love the view that you could turn the stone into some, rite of passage, this, practice, this um a tribute. Uh it's just absolutely incredible. And you found more too. It would not just
I did. But so I just
not
took, but
just these.
just to go back to what you were saying there, you know, and the difference of it as well. And it's a
Mhm.
thing I've heard, you know, David say a lot, and it's always, and I suppose it's true that the Irish people were always considered the people of the stone. No, I can't remember how you say it in Irish. Uh, Clochna Dinne or Clochna Dinne or something like that it is, but it's always that we were the people of the stone, you know. Stones were everywhere for us, everything for us. Building, land, things like that there. So maybe that could have been a big reason for that connection,
Mhm.
you know, that different type of connection for the people at the time.
No, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. No, it is. It's like you say, it's romantic. There's definitely a romance. That's why I always refer to the Stones as she, or I always refer to them as, well, that's just me. I just refer to them as a female all the time.
Huh. I love that feminine energy type of view of it. So, um, and I asked you the other ones that you found, but I also want to ask you something that I just thought of here. So all of these stories are around these stones. How are you chronicling that and making sure that the story stays alive?
Well, myself, I love bringing people together.
Hmm.
I love bringing people together, and when I do organize wee tours, or I organize things like the Gauntlet here, or I go to places, you know, I don't just, it's not a case of just walking in and saying, right, this is Clough na Warrig. It's 164 kg. Let's go see who can
Yeah.
lift it. Come on, let's go see who's strongest here. Let's do it. It's not about that. It's about telling everybody, you know, this is Clough na Warrig. This stone has been here for however, whatever hundreds of years. Uh, this stone was originally lifted because of this and because of that there, and you, I think you have to tell the story for people to understand why they're there. They're not just there to lift the stone. They're there for, they're there to lift the stone, surely, but they're there to pay respect to the people that lifted them. And they're also there to pay respect for why it was lifted, the reason it was lifted. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think for me, that's how I catalog it, by passing the information, passing it on for people, because that's how it was done back then as well. It was it was kept it was kept alive by the people telling the stories, carrying the stories on. And I think telling the stories and carrying the stories on and involving everybody as well. It's not
Hmm.
about just bringing a group of guys together and standing in front of, you know, the guys who stand in front of you and listen to you tell the story. You want the people that are standing behind them to hear the story more. The quiet ones, because they're the ones, well, everybody, but I always find that the people at the back will always remember the stories too. So you have to involve everybody, like, and that's how well, if that makes any sense, that's how I like to, I feel I chronicleize it, is it? Is that the word?
So like a verbal history that's passed down. Yeah.
Carrying on and sharing, well, obviously social media now, you're sharing it through
Yes.
social
Yeah.
media and stuff like that as well, which is good. It's good to be, to share it like that. So people like yourselves in Canada, or people in America, Australia, England, Scotland, Wales, wherever, uh, understand it for what it means for us.
Hmm.
Where for us, listening and watching you guys do what you do, it lets us understand what it means to use and your history and stuff like that.
And so, chronicling other stories of stones, which you found what, two more in Donegal?
I found another one in Donegal. It was Peter Martin, the the guy who practically revived the whole thing of stone lifting in Scotland and everywhere. There was an article that he wrote about his tour, his trip. He was doing a thing around Ireland, and he came to a place in Donegal called Lahi, and it's just a tiny wee village. It's literally houses on one side, a bridge, and a pub and a few houses on the other side. But there was a quarry in the area, and the remnants of that quarry is still there. And the story was that it was way back before machinery and stuff like that. There might have been maybe one or two diggers or dumpers and things like that, but everything was done by hand. Rocks were smashed by hand, they were split by hand, dressed, whatever, had to be done. It was all done manually. And the men used to come down and drink in the pub. And under the bridge, there's 7 arches on the bridge, and the men used to come down and go under one of the arches and lift a stone, testing their strength. Now they'd have plenty of drink in them. Wouldn't be very Irish of them. It wouldn't be very Irish of them if they didn't. But they would have plenty of drink in them, and they would go under and they would test each other's strength by lifting these stones. So I thought, okay, I'll stick on my Sherlock Holmes hat here, and I'll head out again. So I headed down and I had a look. Now, two of the arches, you can't get under them because obviously the river runs through them,
Right.
and on a high tide, the river runs through a lot more of them. But under one of the arches, and pretty much just like Clough-na-Warrig, there was a stone and it sat there in the middle. And I looked around, and my son was with me, cooing, and we were looking around, and Coogan's going, "Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one?" And I says, "Coogan, just have a look, like." And he was looking around, and he goes, "Oh, is it that one there?" And I says, "Yeah, I think it's that one there, like." And I was supposed to go back to find a woman in the town who knows everything about it. But every time I go to Lahey to chat to this woman, and I've been down to that town 5 times, because I always pass through it, going, down home to visit my parents. Uh, she's never in. She's never in. So, but I will find her. It's just cemented. But everybody I've brought down, like loads of people have been down to that stone and lifted it and had it. It's not so much probably a really, really historical stone, but definitely it's been in the past 4 to 5 decades that stone's been lifted. And that I suppose isn't a very long time in the lifespan of some of the lifting stones, but it has a history. The story's there, like, and it was lifted
Hmm.
by men and probably women too. And it was 120, I think it was 124 kg or something. But big round edges on it. Really needed all the chalk and good grip.
Well, I'm not sure if they had chalk while they were out after a few drinks,
Oh,
but
the ca- the calluses them guys would have had in their hand was just like having
oh,
was like having an extra layer.
yeah. And I don't know if it's here I want to segue into that callus, like working industrial strength and like what you found in the shipyards, or whether we continue down the path of talking about some of the other stones that you've lifted that were kind of significant, and specifically, what you did was it last weekend or the weekend before? Let's talk about maybe a couple of your favorite lifts outside of Donegal, and then I do really want to speak about the event 2 weekends ago.
I suppose like there's two that really really stand out to me all the time. The first one and is the stonemason stone on Inishmen Island, one of the Aran Islands, one of the sister islands of the Milan stone that 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 started the whole revival, with David. But
Hmm.
I'd heard about this stone, so I had, and having the background in stonemasonry, I uh, I really wanted to get out and try this, but I knew at the time when I heard about it first that I probably wasn't ready for it because I knew it was 125 kg and I wasn't really at that level at the time. But when David was up with me on that tour with Clough-na-Warrig, seems a lot of things happened that weekend. So David was chatting about the stonemason stone, and organising the trip to Inishman to film the documentary as well that he was been part of, Made of Stone. And I was telling him, "Oh, I really, really want to. I hope I really get that stone." We chatted about it for ages in the car, and then I was training. I pumped up my training a wee bit and started adding a bit more weights, a wee bit more reps, and just trying to build myself up for the stone. And the day came, and we went out to the island, and there was a good few people there, like a good few of the lifters. Tiernan was there, Andy was there, Cara Kenny was there. There was some other fantastic lifters, first time lifters coming who had great strength. There was a guy there, he's a poet from Dublin, very good friend of mine as well, Jared Devine. He, uh, he was with us, and the first stone we went to on the island was the Graveyard Stone. Now, this stone, you go onto this island, and at any one of the Iron Islands, and it's like stepping back in time. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, and there's just stone walls everywhere, everything stone walls. And this old boy picked us up in a van, and he took us around up to the top, and you're looking down over it, and you can see the graveyard away down, and all the gravestones are all flat on the ground in it. And we went down, and in the corner there was a big 150, I think it's 153 or 154 kg stone. But like that, my sights that day was the stonemason stone. But we went down to the stone first, and the story behind the stone was it would have to be lifted up and put up onto the graveyard wall, right, which was pretty high. You know, you were lifting it up and pushing it above your height even to get it up on the wall.
Mhm.
And Tiernan Kenny was one of the first guys in modern day to get it up onto the wall. And that day we went down and they were lifting it. Connor Kenny, another big lifter, Blaine Donovan from, I think he's from Wexford or somewhere, he got it up. And everybody's having a lift of it. And I still had this in my head, oh, 125 kg, I hope I get it, I hope I get it, you know, just going round in my own wee head. But I was still there cheering everybody on. And somebody says, do you want to have a lift of this here? And I thought, I'm not going to budge 153 kg. And I thought, and David, more or just give it a go. Like. And I walked over and I picked the stone up and I nearly had it up at my knee. And I was got that level of going, what do I do with it now? What do I do with
Oh
it
my
now?
gosh.
And I just put it back down. And I was all, that really got me pumped up. Like, really
For
just
sure it did.
got the adrenaline going. So we walked across the island. And we walked up and away down through all these different fields, all with stone walls everywhere. And there was the stonemason stone, lovely big pink granite, like a glacier or erratic or race. I can't remember what you call them, but and the first thing I looked at and I noticed it, and I said it to one of the guys. This guy, that's a wishing stone. And what do you mean? I said, look, it has a single line of quartz right through it. You could barely see it. I says that's a wishing stone. So I I got lifted and we put it on the right side of the wall for it to be lifted. And it was my turn to go up and have a lift of it. And I walked over and I went to pick it up from the ground, and it just fell out of my hands right away. And I was going, just to myself, I was going, no, but everybody was cheering. Everybody, now, I probably will get very emotional talking about this here, but everybody was cheering. And I remember hearing my son, like, remember hearing Connor Kenny and a few other guys roaring away, like, and I bent down again because I put it in my head, this is a wishing stone, and I put my hands on it, and I just was going, please, let's do this together, like, and I bent down, I picked it up, and I really, really fought with it till I got it to my knee, like, and I rolled it back into my lap, and I remember it put me into the deepest squat I was ever in my life. Right, I didn't exactly have my ass in the grass, but I definitely was in one of the deepest squats I was ever in. And then silence, just a complete silence. Like, and I am getting emotional.
I'm about to cry. My daughter tells me I cry too much on this podcast.
What do you call it? It was as if, I swear, and a lot of people laugh, but I don't have the poem now with me because I actually gave the last print of it away to somebody. But I wrote a poem when I came back about this thing, and I'll send it on to you. So I will after it, and you can read it out yourself after the podcast is over. But it's as if it spoke to me, and it said that as I was holding it, everything was so quiet, and it was like, sorry, hey.
No, I understand.
um, it was as if I had this feeling that it was saying to me, squeeze tight and don't let go. And I remember picking it and hugging it in, right in close to me, and I started to rise up. And as I was coming up, I started waddling forward with it. And next thing, just the words into my mouth, or the words into my head was, give we, like this. And I remember just not exactly getting it up to my chest, but picking it up and walking forward and placing it on the wall. And the minute I placed it on the wall, just the whole the wind that was blowing that day, the rain that was falling, and all the guys around, just all the noise came rushing in at
Like to
once.
stop.
Yeah, just at
Yeah.
once. And I remember just getting my fist and just cheering it. And you can see it in the film, the documentary, Made of Stone. You can actually see the clip of me on the other side of the wall, just going like that there. And just this, it was just, it'd be worse if I was reading the poem. If I was reading the poem out to you, I'd be crying about it now. Like, but it was such an emotional lift. And every time I talk about that lift, I do get so emotional, especially that part of the lift itself. But I will send you on I'll send you on the poem I wrote about it when I get back. I never read poetry in my life, and I wrote that poem and I sent it to David. So I did. I sent it to David, and I sent it him the next morning, and he sent me a video back. He goes, "What are you doing to me?" And he was in fucking tears on the other end of the phone. Like, it was, it'll always be the most memorable lift I've ever had. Like, but yeah,
No, I can I can completely understand. I mean, I at the Baravan, like sobbing, like absolutely sobbing. And we probably go there for very different stories, and there's very different messages that the Stones or the world or whatever is coming in at that moment. But I completely feel that, because that was my experience both times at the Baravan, and for both very different messages that I got. And this is what this is what stone lifting is about. Like, I feel so um honored that you shared this story with us, and I do hope that everybody can be so grounded in the moment of stone lifting that they get to experience these things themselves, because they are there. These moments are there.
like it just, I've never been taken to, I've never, I've never gone to a place like that before,
Hmm.
where where there was so much going on around us, because the weather was like, from the weather when we landed there was grand, but when we got up to where we were, the rain was hammering in sideways from the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic itself was roaring with the wind and everything and everybody around. And just for that moment, and then just that complete silence was just, I think, you hear a lot of sports people saying, like boxers and things like that, they go into that. You hear a lot of sports people saying that they go into that place of, it's just complete, everything else is blocked out. Like, and, I think for a lot of people, it's time. A lot of people probably focus more when they're in that place. And then for probably a lot of people like myself and other people, it can be an emotional place. But I don't think the emotion hits you until after you do it, and then you realize what's just happened.
Hmm.
Not
And this is kind of what I often am speaking about too, is that I call it's a practice for me. It's that conscious awareness. Like, you were in the moment every single second. You were hearing, you were smelling, you were feeling, you were touching, you were like, it's and to be able to repeat that more times than just this time, because there's been other times that you've been moved to this,
that
um like, it's just absolutely incredible. So, I mean, it's really hard to top that story, but I know you have more. I know you have more stones that you've.
that what that stone and that day and that happened. It's weird. Like, I talked to the stone before I left it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't talk out loud, but I do a wee thing. If you ever watch my videos, and I do this with my hands,
Hmm.
I I kind of stretch out my hands and I tingle my fingers, and I go down, and with that initial connection, I'm here. I'm here for you to test me, like, and I yeah, it's a very emotional story. That sort. Hold on, like, get myself together here. Uh, but yeah, I have. There's the what I call it stone, the scalp stone that I talked about earlier on up in the
Hmm.
mountain here. Like the scalp stone for me would be like, your nemesis stone, but not nemesis in a good way, or not nemesis in a bad way. Sorry,
In a bad way.
yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
not in a bad way, but a nemesis in a good way. Like I've been up to the scalp stone now. I would say I must be up there 8 or 9 times, and I've seen people lift it and chin it and get the smiggy on it. Well, that's what it was called. It was called a smiggy. To get it up your chin and touch it to your chin with the point of it. And the first time I ever went to that stone was with David, Tiernan, Andy. I don't think Connor. No, Connor wasn't there, but my son Coon was there, and I literally only getting it off the ground that much. It was 125 kg, but it's made of this rock. It's gabbro, I think it's called. It's more. It's it's not a. It's more dense than granite. So it actually 125 kg feels like 150 kg when you're
Yeah.
lifting it. And my first experience of lifting the stone, I could actually feel my feet kind of sinking into the bog that we were standing on, the mucky ground. But I kept going back. I kept going back up to it because I just felt sh- she's testing me all the time. She wants me to, she's like, I always see it like that sh- she wa- she wants me to lift her, but she wants me to do it in her terms,
Hmm.
if you know what I mean. It kind of
Hmm.
sounds silly. Well, not, no, no, it doesn't sound silly.
No.
It might sound a bit silly to the people that don't know, but yeah, it was like she was testing me, and I remember the best lift I got on it. Two best lift I got on it was one. I landed up my own one day, and I had my son Coon with me actually. But Coon stayed in the car down the wee car park, and I headed up my own. And when I got up to the top and I was about to lift it, I went, "Ah, shit! I've no chalk, I've no belt, I've no nothing, and I'll give it a go anyway." And I went at it, and I got it up under my lap, and I got it to here, you know, just below under your belly, like. And I was kind of standing with it, and I was going like this here, trying to put my head down to touch it, and you can see it in the video, like I'm going like this, but I'm kind of going, no, that's, and then she just says, no, no, Martin, you're not ready yet, like. So I went away, and I came back up with a friend of mine not long after that, and I was getting it up under my lap and getting it into my stomach, but I wasn't being able to move with it. And then we went up with the Ulster tour, and we had done so much lifting that day between the Seven Stone, the Cloth and the Warrig, the Dysart Gripping Stones, and the Lahi Bridge Stone, that when we got to the Scalp Stone, we were pretty shattered. Like, we were pretty beat down. And then I went up recently with two friends of mine, and it was probably the best lift I have ever got on it. And I actually got it up and turned it on my lap, so the point of it's up here. And I actually done an AI photograph or an AI watercolor thing of me standing holding it. It's actually on the picture I done for the Dublin thing. I'm holding the scalp stone, and the point of it is just right there, right there. And if I'm doing that, that's not connecting it. You have to bring it up to your chin. So it was just right there. And I think you can, in one of the videos, you can see me lifting it up. And when I put it down, you can just hear me, ah, fuck. And I just walk off. And a good mate of mine, Mark Teague, that was with me. He was going, Martin, that is so close, so close. But that's a stone that I'm going to go back to. Like, and it's, I, I feel a connection with that stone. Like it's not my stone, but it is my stone. It's my stone because of the challenge it's put before me.
And I do think everybody does have at least one stone that is that to them. And I, the more you speak, and I knew that you and I were simpatico in the way that we approach stones because you've shared some things on social media, and I'm like, oh, I totally, I totally get this guy. But I love that you speak to the stones as being feminine, and for as much that I have done in this area. of like study, I have not looked at stones as feminine. And I think that maybe that's what I need I need to change. Maybe that's what I need to change. But that's, but it makes sense because it's an earth element. Like it's totally makes sense. But I was looking at it through kind of a masculine lens, right?
No, well, you think about it. Stones are from the earth. Am I right?
Yeah,
Mother Earth.
totally makes sense. So Martin, this is what I'm walking away from today with. Well, actually, a whole bunch. I mean, we're already over an hour into this, and like I'm nowhere near done speaking with you yet. So,
This
um,
could be a two-parter.
it might be. It might have to be a two-parter. So incredible stories, incredible meaning. And I mean, we were talking about this earlier about the St. Patty's Day lift and all the work that you did for that. And I hope to have what's that what was the female lifter that day?
Aisha Ula. Aisha Ula.
Yes.
She was a 5-time Ireland's strongest woman.
And
Fantastic.
and she does natural worlds too, I believe.
I'm not 100% on it.
Yeah, I think so. So talk to us about that stone.
That's still, but that came about. That came about kind of funny. David got in touch with me. He'd been asked to would he be able to come up and do the St. Patrick's Day parade and do a bit on stone lifting, and because he was going to Boston, he was heading over to Boston for this. He'd been asked by the guys from the No Fame games. Is it Josh? And that
Josh, yes.
to come over and do a bit of talking about his documentary and promote, do promotion of his book that's coming out, and do the parade as well with Cloch na Ban, the song that we all sent over.
Hmm.
So he asked me if I'd be interested in going down and doing it, because he says there's no better man to sit and talk about stones to people than yourself. So I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. It'd be great. So I got in touch. We got in touch with Aisha. And I'd already known Aisha from the time we went to a place called Kells, where we all lifted the Dagda's Heart stone. And well, it was meant to be part of the games that was supposed to happen, but the games didn't actually happen. But myself and David and loads of others thought, well, we're still going to go down and stone lift. But like I say, that's another story. But anyway, I got in touch with Aisha, and we were back and forth about it. And now, fair play to Aisha, she definitely done all the work with the ones down there. The kind of business side of it, not there talking with them there. Uh, and we decided then, wouldn't it be cool if we had a stone to give to the people of Dublin? And David thought about the Ballyknockin quarry, where there's two lifting stones out at the front of the Ballyknockin quarry. And he thought, why not? Because Dublin itself, the city of Dublin, was built. The skeleton of Dublin was built from the stone that was taken from the Ballyknockin quarry. So you're talking buildings that are going back hundreds of years were all built from the Ballyknockin quarries in the Wicklow Mountains, which is just outside of Dublin, another county, but outside of Dublin. And David approached John McAvoy, and John McAvoy, I haven't met the man, but I know for a fact he's a genuine, real nice man, because he was overwhelmed. I think that David asked him about this, and what he done was he went and cut us a 120 kg piece of granite, and he engraved the name and the weight of the stone and Grailcha, which in Old Irish means the skeleton. And that stone then was brought up for us for the St. Patrick's Day demonstration. It was actually the week before St. Patrick's Day that we were doing it.
Okay.
There was all these wee kind of mini display things going on around the whole city of Dublin in different areas. And that stone came up, and we, of course, were sitting telling the story and talking about stone lifting and all this here. And on the day, we were only allocated 2 times for the lift. One was at 12 o'clock and the other was at 3:30 due to insurance purposes and all this kind of stuff. of the group at the time. So, like, it was only right that Aisha got the first lift on it. So it was amazing to see her doing it. As she said herself, it was the heaviest natural stone to date that she's got to her chest. And then I got my lift after it, and the the people were just, inv- as what's the word? The people were just so involved in what we were doing. Like, because once we were finished giving our wee chats and wee history of stories, telling me stories, and I had loads of pictures all about the place of, all the guys, Andy, Tiernan, me, David, and other stones all about that they could come up and chat about and talk about, which they did. And then there was loads of people from gyms and everything that had been contacting me beforehand, wanting to come up to witness it and having a great chat about it. And then we were chatting about the stone itself. Like I was saying about the other stones, stones were always lifted for a reason. There was a purpose of why the stone was lifted. And I think sometimes for a modern stone, when you place a modern stone, sometimes it can be hard to find why you're lifting it and what you're lifting it for. But it just, I'm one of these people, and I'm sure if you have you ever heard of Connor Heffernan?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, well, Connor Heffernan says, Martin, you're just a guy. If we ever want to chat to somebody about a mad bloody idea or bump with this, just go to you. Like. So I thought the stone should be lifted as a show of strength, but only lifted to chest. But also, it should be lifted to remember the quarrymen and the stonemasons that built the city of Dublin with this stone. So it was so. At the moment now, we're looking for a place to have the stone put, where it's not going to be vandalized, it's not going to get damaged, and people can come and lift it. So we've a couple of ideas kind of under our hats, and we're just going to run over the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, and see where we can get it placed. But
Yeah, it's a beautiful stone.
an absolute beautiful stone, and it leaves its mark on you as well. So it does. Gives you the kiss of granite, the granite kiss. But I've also come up. Have you heard of the Dagda Games that's happening?
No, I have not.
Aisha and her partner Maddie, they're part of GSP Strength, who organise a lot of strongman events and everything. So they're organising an event that's happening in June. It's the Dagda Games, and they were on to me before the St. Patrick's Day thing that they would love to have the Dagda's harp down as part of it and be used as a lift and carry, and I was, yes, of course, 100%. And then I thought to myself, well, hold on a minute. What about if we use the Dagda's harp? Ireland is split into 4 provinces, right? You have Ulster, Munster, Leinster, and Connacht, which are the 4 provinces of Ireland. So the Dagda's harp I found it up here, and I created the harp effect on it. It's going to represent Munster. The Druid stone that I have came off a beach in the west of Ireland, and it was actually blessed by a Druid. I had a friend of mine who's a Druid, Paul Cullen. Who's part of the big stick fighting community in Ireland. He came down on the 27th of December along with a lot of other people, and he gave a Druid's blessing onto the Druid stone and the Dagda's harp. So that's going to represent Connacht. Then the Dublin stone, that stone in Grela, it's going to represent Leinster. And I'm going down this Saturday, myself and a friend of mine, down to the Copper Coast to meet up with David, and we're going to source a stone to represent Munster. So at the Dagda Games, as well as having historical lifts, there's going to be the 4 provinces of Ireland lift.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so what are the other lifts then of that event as well? Do you know, or?
there's a strongman event in it. There's strongman events happening in it. There's a natural stone lifting event happening in it.
Awesome. And what about the harpstone? You were talking about that there. I feel like we can't
Maybe.
finish this episode without a a discussion on that stone.
Yeah. The Heartstone. The Heartstone came about from me being nosy, to be honest. from me and my wee nosy self. But no, I was out on the bus one day, from work, and where we go dropping a few of the participants that I work with off, I noticed this big, massive pile, and I mean of big stones outside this guy's house. Well, kind of down at the end of his drive. So I picked up my mate one day and my son Kieran, and they're going, "Where are you going?" I says, "We're going up here to talk to somebody." And the first thing they go is, "Martin, do you know this fella?" And I go, "No." They go, "Right, this is good. Right, this is going to be good crack." So, so we headed up, drove up to this fella's house. He had a big security gate, pushing the buzzers. Felt like I was getting into somewhere in LA or something, pushing the button, and went up to his house. And what would take 10 minutes task turned into a 2-hour conversation on his doorstep, having the crack about the stones and talking about the stones. And I said, I would love to have a look through your pile and see if there's any stones that I could take. He says, when told him about the lifting and all this, and he says, "Yeah, surely, no bother." Like, so we headed down, we headed down to the pile of stones, and I was looking through all these stones, and I came across this lovely stone. I took it out and had a few lifts up and down of it, and I was going, that's a cracker stone. I says, I might take this one. I took 2 or 3 stones from him. 2 of the other stones went to a local group here called the Irish Stone Monsters. They use them for, I could put rings in them when I was training with them.
Yeah.
And the third one I kept. I just thought, right, hold on to this one. And then the whole thing came about where these games were going to happen down in Kells. It was supposed to be the kind of reinvented Talchin games. And of course, I brought the idea of, the provinces of Ireland. And David says, what about when Ireland had 5 kingdoms? And Meath was the centre of the kingdom. And I says, oh, what about, and a stone that I'd seen that I remember up there just flashed into my head. He says, "Here, I have an idea." He says, "Just give me a while and I'll come back to you with this idea." And I went away up and I pulled the stone out. And I said to my mate Drew at the time, I said, "Drew, does that look like a harp to you?" And he goes, "It kind of looks like a heart." He says, "Not a harp." I says, "No, look." And well, it did look like a heart in a way, but I says, "It looks like a harp." I says, "What about Dagda's harp? The old gods of Ireland, like Dagda would be what Odin is to the Vikings and all that kind of stuff." And he had his club that could, with one swing, he could kill thousands of men. He had a harp that would put his enemies to sleep, and only he could play it. The harp would only let him play it. And he had his cauldron, which would feed. It would never empty. So I thought, dag this harp, that'll be brilliant. Like, so I got on to the guys. I says, "What about if we have it and we use this harp as a centerpiece stone of the lifting?" I says, I'm gonna carve it out. So got up the back one day, got my chalk out, got my chisels out, got my grinder out, and started carving the harp into the stone. I didn't want to go into to have it too pristine because I wanted it to look like it had been there for a long time.
And it does. It does look like that, Martin. You did a great job.
It came out pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Tajin Games never happened, but we ended up bringing it down anyway, and loads of people turned up. I think at one of the lifts we had about maybe 25 people there, which was more even. But for the lifting of the harp, we were all having our go. We put it on a plinth because it's sandstone and it's very rounded in the edges. So it was so hard to get a grip of. So you put it in the plinth so you could get down low to get a lift. And you've probably seen the video of myself and a few others having a wee lift of it. And
Dolores, I've seen.
my friend Stanley, who helped me so much with my grip training and everything, he picked it up and he walked with it nearly 40 meters with it, like, and that set the challenge. And but that wasn't the only challenge that was set that day with the harp. The harp was there to say, "I'm here to be tested, or I'm here to test yous. I'm not here to be lifted." And David, or Jared Devine, my friend that I was telling you about, the firefighter poet from Dublin, he landed in, and he goes, "Oh, is this the stone here?" And he goes, "Yeah." And next thing, he picked it up on the ground and held it up. And he actually was holding it like he was holding it like a harp, like, and he put it down, and we were all just looking, and goes, "He just lifted that off the ground. It can be done." Because there's a few videos I'm trying to do it off the ground, and David's trying to do it off the ground. I still try to lift it off the ground, getting better as it goes on. And then, yeah, and I was going to leave it. You know, it was originally for Kells to be used for the Tailteann Games in the future, but because of what happened, I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, of what did happen, but I wasn't going to leave it there because it didn't want to be left there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be left there, so I took her home, and loads of people came. Loads of people came. Like, I had all my mates from a group I'm part of, the Ban Valley Stone Club up here in the north, which is run by absolutely amazing people. Dolores McGuckin, who's a
Mm-hmm.
very strong woman and passionate stone lifter, and her partner Sammy. And the guys from the Irish Stone Monsters as well, Simon Truesdale, the guys Thomas and Liz and all them, they all came down. It was all on all different days having lifted the stone. And I even have people now still messaging me, "Oh, can we come down and have a lift of the stone? Next time we're in Ireland, we want to have a lift of the harp." So I think the harp, she knew what she was doing when she threw me in that day
Talk to
from the
you.
bus, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's probably the most travelled lifting stone. It's been up and down the length of Ireland, and it's going now to the Dagda Games and everything, you know, and it's just a sheer test of strength and grip. So it is
No,
a beautiful, yeah.
no, it is absolutely a beautiful stone. And the most memorable lift I saw of it was Dolores and her attempt.
Up
But
the
that,
back.
I,
Go,
sorry, what's that?
oh, that's the one where she lifted it up the back. Me and her partner were either side of her, was it? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and I kind of wonder if this is what it's all about, is that, oh, well, you can do this. Oh, well, I can lift it here. Like, and that becomes the challenge. And I think as we all create our own communities here, making sure, I think when I was talking to Jamie McGregor, he's like, if you're creating sites, there usually should be like three kind of things that you need to think about: the beauty of the stone, the history, and the location of the place, and the story behind it. And I think that harpstone has all three, and you've imprinted that onto that stone, and I can't wait to see where that goes.
I think, the fact that it has been travelled, because Dagda himself, I'd like to believe that when he moved about the kingdoms of Ireland, he always brought the harp with him.
Hmm. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
It's been lifted in Ulster, it's been lifted in Munster, it's going to be lifted in Connacht, and guaranteed at some point, some stage, somewhere, it'll be lifted at Leinster as well. So that'll be at all. It'll be lifted in every province in Ireland, like, and then hopefully then I can find a good resting place for it, like,
Hmm.
where
Yeah, somewhere that is protected and appreciated. Yeah.
and not just be up in my back garden, because I think she knows she's there for now, but I definitely think she's destined for a better place, like, where
Yes.
everybody can get at her, or everybody can get a lift at her.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this. So, I mean, preparing for these episodes is not just a whole bunch of text back and forth. It's like voice messages and creates a whole new relationship. And I am so honored to have these relationships now with you folks. And you and I have been, chatting back and forth. You've given me some challenges to do. But the one cool thing was this past week, you and I were exchanging voice texts, and you were talking about how traditional stone lifting in Ireland wasn't just about the sport of it. It was like manhood. It was about labor, survival, and like, community belonging and activities. And I kind of wanted to talk to folks about this because as they start their own traditions in their own communities, because that conversation with you led to something for me here to just see if they're in this particular Irish community that there's stone lifting here in Canada. So talk to me a bit about our chat this week on that.
I take it this is to do with the ship stuff, yeah.
The shipbuilding, yeah.
I've been working with a guy as part of my job. Like it's helping him at night. But what I discovered and what he shared with me, he's a historian, so he is. He his thing is shipping history. Like you're dating right back to the 1700s, and he's just an encyclopedia of all the different types of ships and all the work that went on those ships. Not just from the captains and the crew, but the workers that built these ships. Going right back to the workers in the actual shipbuilding yards and the guys who worked way below deck, like right down in the hulls and all this of the boat. And when I got talking to him, as I do when I talk to a lot of people, I end up talking about stones. But I got chatting to him about the stones, and he says that on the old ships back in the 1800s, and probably even before that too, they used to use stones as ballast in the bottoms of the ships. Now, all these stones were granite, and every one of the stones had to be polished because you couldn't have rough granite in a wooden ship because it would have torn the end of the wood and would have sank the ship as the ship was moving. So
Right.
this also meant that there had to be men to move these ballasts as the weight changed on the boats. So you can imagine the hull of a boat, right? Like that literally with my hand is probably at its smallest point at the very bottom. So you're going out, and these stones were laden all up and down the hulls of these boats. So you not only had you the ribs of the boat at different sections, you had the whole curvature of the boat, and you had the low overhead height. And he says what the men used to do is they used to lift these stones, crouch down, and crawl over, like walk over these things and carry the ballasts up and down as the loads would change on the boats up above, be it a cargo ship, be it a whatever slave ship, whatever it was at the time. These would all change, so the ballast had to be changed with them, right? And men used to go down and carry these. Now it would either be the carpenters, or later on steamships, it would have been the guys shoveling the coal, and I suppose, but to go back, the reason they used stone so much then is because iron was so expensive. So expensive. Now, this is what I'm going on what I've been told. And what they used to do is they would drill holes through the stone, if the stones were big, and they would put rope through the holes. So it was almost like a handbag lift. And these men were lifting maybe two of these. They could be anything from 50, 60 to 70 kg in weight. Probably, the bigger ballast stones that would be in the center. And they would have to walk up and down with these. But in the yards as well, when the ballast stones would all be sitting about before they were put into the boat, the men, the workers and all this, would test themselves. They would do it as a show, a test of strength. Oh, I can lift that higher than you, or the same way, like with stones outside pubs or crossroads. Oh, I bet you couldn't lift that. Oh, I bet you couldn't lift this, and they go, oh, I bet you could. And so he says that they used to lift these stones in the yards, Now, unfortunately, unlike the historical lifting stones that are actually out there, with this type of lifting, it's the stories that remain, because the stones were always going either from here over to you guys, or over to America, or
Hmm.
going wherever else. But they were always lifted as tests of strength, as well as pig iron used to be used as well, because pig iron was the first type of iron that they used, when they were ballasting the boats. So what what this guy Paul is going to do now, because he's been a bit busy, what other stuff that he's doing is he's going to send me pictures of the actual ballast stones and what they look like. That was done drawings at the time, and he's going to get in touch with the local Titanic quarter and stuff like that, and hopefully we can tie into some maritime thing where us as stone lifters can go up and demonstrate by lifting these stones to kind of remember the guys that done it back in the shipyards, and that stone lifting wasn't just going out to going out to kind of lift it to get a wish or lift it as a job. These were like guys were lifting them as well, just to have a bit of fun in what was a very busy, dangerous, and unhealthy lifestyle. Job and lifestyle at the time. So I
Yeah, and
got
no, and I was thinking of the connections here, and that's how that all started.
yeah, funny. I got in touch with Jared as well.
New England Stone Lifting.
Yeah, New England Stone Lifting, because they were a massive shipbuilding community over there as well. And when I did get in
Yes.
touch with Jared, he was telling me, yeah, man, there's actually ballast stones on the streets in Newfoundland, England. He says, yeah, that's a very good. So he's looking into it as well. I mentioned it to Connor Heffernan here, and Connor Heffernan, he says this is a massive rabbit hole you've put me down here. He says this could lead into some amazing stuff. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to collect stories. we Obviously there won't be any stones in their memory, but hopefully maybe we could, like the stone that we did for Dublin, if it did come about, there could be a stone placed up in Belfast on what they call Queen's Point. And Queen's Point up in Belfast is where the very bow of the Titanic was anchored at when she first came out of the dock after being built.
Wow. Yeah, I'm excited to go down this rabbit hole too because my husband's from Newfoundland and obviously huge shipping port there and strong Irish connections as well. So uh, hopefully a trip out there maybe this summer will allow some investigation. But the other thing too it's led me to coincidentally is that I found that there is an Irish community here. This continues to speak Gaelic, is recognized. I think it's World Heritage maybe. And so I'm going to go down there and see if there are stories around, stone lifting that came across with them when they emigrated here. So really cool stuff. And it's again because of the, conversations we have.
I think a good avenue to start looking at is look into anybody that historically kind of catalogued the social lives of the ship workers.
Yeah. No, that is a great place to start. So, yeah, and I think thinking outside of the, as you say, the traditional stones of strength that we've been talking about and talking about the actual culture of it, I think that we'll see maybe more linkages here in the newer the newer world as we kind of look into investigate this. But that was a great chat we had this week. I know that we're getting on here, but I do have to talk a little bit about another niche area that is highly correlated to stones, but it's like it's grip strength and Irish identity. And obviously, there's also huge grip based tests of strength. And you have sent me a number of challenges over the last few months on grip. And one in particular today, which was absolutely humbling. And I because the test was it's 20 kg, I think, to start, right? Or is it 10
It's
kg?
10 kg.
10 kg. Well, I got nowhere close to that, Martin.
Was the one with the pin? Yeah,
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 the
yeah,
one with
yeah.
the pin, and then you've got to like lift it up like this. Yeah.
It,
Oh my gosh. 5 kg was the best I could do. But again, I had just done stones, not to make excuses, but I am making excuses. But that is something I will be working on. But you're huge into that. And so, why do you think grip strength held such an important part in Irish culture and how it translates to the stone lifting as well?
I I think probably grip was a big part of the culture without them being even knowing about it, because a lot of in the old days, everything was done by hand. Everything was done like,
Right.
like even before, like pre-famine and things like that. Some of the strongest people in the world were the Irish people, and it was down to their workability and stuff like that there, but also how strong they were and how big they were. Like I remember a stone, Martin Timstone in Galway. I remember going to meet the guy who actually the stone was about. The stone was about him, and he was a guy in his 80s, and he looked very frail. But the minute you went up to him and you shook his hand, you knew this guy was a
Mm-hmm.
strong man, because that grip,
Yeah.
that power, that grip in his hand, I think it was just a thing that it was probably, yeah, it was very, very important. So, but they probably didn't realize it, that that's what it was. But just with the lifestyles they probably had, growing up and working the land and whatever kind of work it was all real manual labor, real manual hard on you labor. If it was building, rock breaking, uh, working on boats, working with wet hands, that would have developed callous grip
Mm-hmm.
so strong. Uh, Going to the bog and cutting and footing turf. Now, I don't know if you know anything about cutting or footing turf.
Is that the same as peat? Is peat and turf
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
or
yeah,
no?
yeah,
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 okay.
yeah. But Pete's my neighbor. We cut turf. But yeah, but we don't cut it anymore. But yeah, and you know, you do notice it, like I suppose it's a generational thing too. To shake the hand of a young fella now and shake the hand of an old man from that's 70, 80 years old, and just that grip, that feel of grip, and I think it's. And I'm only speaking from my own experience, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it relates to a lot of stone lifters and weightlifters alike. But grip is so important, and I never realized how important grip was until I met a good friend of mine, Stanley Hamilton, from Armagh. He's NI grip and arm wrestling, like. But Stanley's grip is just unbelievable. The man has world records up and down the charts, like, with it. And he's such a humble guy, like such a nice guy to chat to, and so helpful with everything. Like, I actually sent a video of him to him this night. I was at a strongman event yesterday, my first ever strongman competition, and there was Thomas Inch bells, Thomas Inch dumbbells there, and I managed to get the 53 kg Thomas Inch dumbbell up, like, and I sent him a wee video. It's like,
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So were you participating in that strongman event or watching?
yeah, it was my first time participating in a strongman. So
Martin, I had no idea. See, the thing is, I don't see that on your social media. I never would have known that.
I didn't. I'll put it up on Instagram today, but I stuck it up on Facebook first. Uh, but I went up to take part in. It was up in a place called Total Training Gym. It was run by a guy, Seamus Lee, who's actually a member of the Ban Valley Stonelifters, and absolutely amazing event. Seamus runs them just absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely great to be part of it. And I went in. I was the oldest guy in my group. I was 48-year-old against I would say they're all in their 20s, definitely all in their 20s. Like, now to be like, there was four of us in the group, and it was a barbell, a monster dumbbell, touch the ground up, press, touch the ground up your shoulder press.
Yep.
And it was a yoke walk straight into a duck walk. And then it was the deadlift ladder. It was the keg loading kegs,
Mhm.
and then a big Atlas sandbag up over a yoke for rep.
That's you would have excelled at both the keg and the Atlas, I bet.
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, it was. We were all level pegging. The four of us were all level pegging right up to the deadlifts. The deadlift is always my, yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
but I've started to really fall in love with it because I don't like it. If you know what I mean. Why do I not like it? Why do I not like this? And now, after yesterday, because I tried lifting 180 up in the shed with straps on the night before the competition, and it wasn't budging, but it flew up. It flew up in the day without straps. I even caught it without straps and no chalk, and I got it up. But that again is down to my grip training.
And that's what I wanted to talk about is what do you do for grip? Like what
I do loads of
I know
I do loads of
okay.
stuff. Uh, I usually I have grippers with me all the time,
Okay.
so I do. And Stevie Shanks uh says to me the best way to train with grippers is not to be doing this.
Okay.
He says
So the like what everybody thinks is the pinching, like what that's what Martin's showing.
for some things, but he says close it and hold it for as long as you can.
Static. Yes, that is what the unknown strongman has said last week, is that the static holds are where it's at. And I've heard that repeatedly. So, okay, everybody get yourself some grippers, put them in your briefcase.
And now what I use 45 kg grips.
Okay. I would not be.
On the outside. Put the thumb on the outside of the grip. Don't put it
Right.
around it like this. Put it on the
Okay.
outside of it and hold it in. And then
Okay.
hold it till absolute failure. Hold it to the point of failure and keep trying to hold it some more. And then change it over and do it on the other side. And another, just different grabs that Stanley was always telling me about. Like the rolling handle. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to be
Like
honest with
Rolling
you,
Thunder, I think it is, or something.
I can't ever see myself paying 70, 80 quid for a big professional rolling handle. So I actually have a small handle one, but I have those rubber, what do you call them? Rubber things that fit around the handle to make the handle bigger.
Oh, like the foam, the big grips.
Like, yeah. So it makes the hand bigger. So,
Yeah.
so what I do is I try and I'll put maybe 30, 40 kg and lift it up and just hold it. Stand and hold it and just hold it for as long as I can. And then what I usually do, I'll load it up till I literally can't get it off the ground and just start doing reps, maybe 1 or 2 reps on one side. Even if I'm only getting it that much off the ground or getting it that much off the ground, I'm just up, down, and just keep doing it. Another wee thing I found that I find is absolutely amazing. We all know this one here.
The towel. Or like the bar, like moving up the rope. Yeah. Yeah.
Using the end of your Olympic bar or whatever and
Yeah.
doing that there. Well, I found this one online and it's actually like this. It's like 2 wee balls like that. And you hold it like,
Oh.
actually, I have it here. I'll show it to you. Hold on.
Yeah, let's see it, Martin.
Here it is here. So it's just the same as that, but it's this.
Oh, okay.
So instead of you holding it like, well, you can hold it like that. You're holding it, your hands are in like that. So when you're turning, you're getting that motion on
Which
your
is
hand all the
stone
time.
lifting.
Where the
Absolutely.
other one you're getting this. But with this one here, you're
Yeah.
getting that that motion like this. So you're up and down, up and down. And what I usually do, I'll hold it straight down. I'll hold it out in front like this, or I'll hold it up like that there. And you really do feel it in different. Like I'm not into all the funny names that they have on the different parts of the body and all that. There, it works this part of the arm, that part of the arm, and builds it all up.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely working because you can see it on your lifts. That's super helpful advice. And as soon as I get off this pod, I am going to Amazon and ordering one of those to add to my grip kit for sure.
And a thing I do a lot now is I try to lift as much as I can without chalk.
Yeah.
And instead of, because you'll always see, and I do it myself here, it's whatever it takes to get it up. But if you have a stone that you're comfortable with lifting, and you always go to that same position of putting your hands like this and lifting it up, or grabbing it like this and lifting it up, try to change it where you're just grabbing it with your hand. You're just putting your hands in and you're connecting with this part, and you're doing it right if you end up with wee scrapes in your hands. And
Right.
and as I call it, turning it on. See, when you're holding your grip and you turn you lock that in and lock that in, and just keep doing it like that there. Because I even find myself when I'm in work, or if I'm being asked to, Martin, will you take them boxes down to the room? And if the box is big enough, I'll just grab it like this and see, I can lift that there. So I'm walking down like this here, down through the place, carrying it like a grip. But that's
awesome. Yeah.
Grip for me is just so important. And I have well, I've a load out in the box out there, but I'm always doing even if I'm sitting down watching a bit of telly with Louise or something like that there, I'll have wee pinch grip things going, or making grips. I'd say, do you know what I actually found is a brilliant thing to practice for grip?
What?
It is the actual using the gripper. But what you do, get your loading pin, right?
Yeah.
Get your loading pin. So say you've got a V-bar or you've got whatever, and we'll just say your max is 30, right? So what you do is get your gripper, turn your gripper upside down so your wee loop's here, and hook in the loop. So you're squeezing the gripper as hard as you can with your thumb on the outside and pulling up at the same time.
Oh.
You've got this pressure.
Yeah.
Because if you grab something, it's you just squeezing onto something. But with a strong gripper, you have that resistance pushing back against your grip as you're trying to pull up. So it just helps build. Well, I think it does, but it definitely does. Like, it definitely does.
100%. I mean, most conversations I end up on here, we end up talking about grip at some point in time. But these are super helpful tips. And but I'm excited to add this new piece of equipment this kit into my toolkit. But as you say, like, it's, sitting down watching TV at night, like taking out a gripper, sitting at your desk. And it's basically, like you can work it in. And do you think that you can overdo it though? I've always wondered that. Like, is that?
Well, I don't know. I suppose I've never really got to that point of overdoing it. But at the same time too, Stanley Hamilton, the guy who teaches me grip, he says, Martin, you never stop. You never stop. He says, like there was me away at that competition. Like last week, I was away at an Iowa competition doing, all the weird lifts.
Yeah.
And it was pretty full on. It was a full on day. And then the next day, I was away stone lifting. I lifted over a ton and a half in the space of an hour and a half up in my local, up at the Stones of the Dead Wood with a friend of mine and his girlfriend. She just wanted to learn how to lift stones. It ended up on a whole afternoon of stone lifting.
That's how it starts. Before we get into the final piece, which is asking you for your 3 pieces of advice, I wanted to segue into something completely different, because I also know you from the poetry you share, whether it's you or your son, and your musical background. How does that fit in? Is it similar to stone lifting? Does it fill a gap? Do you intertwine the two somehow?
the poetry definitely is has been a new thing for me, like, and it's been fantastic. You know, I suppose I'm not like your average poet. I don't go looking for the poem, if you know what I mean. I don't go to try to, like, if you says to me, Martin, could you write me a poem could you write me a poem about them fossils in that stone? And I would
Yeah.
go, Jesus, no. Two but 2 years down the road, next thing something might just click and I'll scribble it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think the poetry probably has more of a link to the stone lifting for me than my own type of music. But then the type of music I play to the and the type of music I listen to are two totally different things. Because
Mhm.
when I play my music and I learn a song that they're slow, emotional, kind of sad, and they're about addiction. They're about love, not love loss, but they're about addiction. They're about hard times, and they're a bit
Mhm.
gritty. Like, I love listening to that guy Stephen J. Wilson. Have you heard him?
No.
No. Oh, he's I guess J. Wilson. He done a reverb version of "Stand by Me," and he just blew up, man. And his songs are just his songwriting is absolutely unbelievable. And then there's another guy, Nolan Taylor. He's a southern singer from America, and just yeah, I love singing songs that have a good story behind them,
Mhm.
a hard story behind them. Like,
Yeah, and I've really like, and maybe like you can let me know if you don't want to go down this path, but like for me, when I like go like for my stone lifting tours, it's very much kind of a ritual that I have. Like I have music, I do my own writing, as you do, you talk to the stone. Um Sometimes I even talk to like the space asking for permission. Do you do you tie all of that together too? Like I get that sense from you from what I briefly know of you that you approach it as very an act.
yeah, yeah, very ritualistic. Yeah, I do.
Uh-huh.
I have songs that I like. I say, what I play and what I listen to is two different things. So when I'm going out to the Stones, I have there's an Irish group called the Scratch, and they're real heavy, real whoa. And
Yeah.
there's a song they have called the Shanahy, right? And you just listen to it. I'll send it on to you too, but there's a part in it where it goes, "Oh, the boy, look up at the war," and it's like a man to horn. He's a Shanahy, oh, the war, look up at the war, like this, yeah.
Yes.
And it buzz, I see, there's fucking electric guitars and there's everything, and I'm in the car just going like this, yes, anybody driving by is going, what the fuck, and they're letting him drive for. And even if my son Tooin's in the car that comes on, I'll reach over and I'll grab him and I'll start shaking him and everything. He's going, fuck's sake, Danny, calm down. You're only going to lift stones. I know. But
No, it's the same for me too. Like there's three groups I listen to and you can kind of sometimes hear them when I post my lifts, but Dropkick Murphys for sure. Shanaganuck, which is a Canadian band that does remakes of Irish songs, as well as the Navigators. Again, they do remakes of Irish songs. And I like the Mongoose John. They're, I think, American. Again, remake of Irish songs. So I have a lot of Irish
yeah.
music playing, and of course Scottish too when I'm lifting out here in the garage. But it just transports you. It allows you to be in the moment. And I think, you know what, based on this conversation, Martin, I'm going to start a stone lifting song list for Spotify and collect them from the stone lifting community and post it so that we can
Well,
see
that
what we're all doing.
here's your first one, Shanahy.
Okay.
Shanahy.
Shanahy.
Shanahy by the Scratch, or
Okay.
or
Got it.
or Cheeky Bastard by the Scratch.
I love that name. Oh my God. Okay. All right. They're the first two. Started here with Martin. Martin, This has been absolutely incredible. I can't tell you how relaxed of a conversation this has been for me. You and I had chatted back and forth about what we were going to talk about, and I don't even know if we even followed that. It's just, it was just so easy. And I really hope that I'm able to come over and lift stones with
Oh,
you.
definitely. You'll be
Uh,
so welcome,
oh,
Rebecca. So welcome.
it would be amazing. It would be amazing. So as we exit out of this episode, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't done yet?
No, well, as you know, me myself, for me, the stone lifting, I, stone lifting's about community. You know,
Hmm.
it was it was in the past, and even with the digital age, even with the social medias and things like that, there, with such a big community now. Hence, me and you talking now, or me and somebody else talking, or talking as groups. So I think, yeah, I just want to say a big kind of thank you to everybody here at home. That's not only, oh Jesus, starting to get emotional here again, but all the clubs, all the clubs that have reached out to me, and all the guys that I've helped, and kind of, you know, with the stone lifting, it's just, I've met so many amazing people over the past 2 years. It's been like from that to this, and it's keeping going, and it's been able to go out and share with these people, like, because I take inspiration from everybody. Everybody inspires me in stone lifting. Be it the kids that come in. I have good friends whose children
Hmm.
come up. They named they named the stones in my local forest. They call them the stones of the dead wood. You know, and I think it's very important that, while we're sharing all this information with each other, is that we share it with the young ones as well, because they're the ones that are going to carry our stories.
Hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it makes absolute sense.
Without being too emotional again, but yeah, I think, as a community, we shouldn't forget the young ones and involve the young ones more, because they do get sidetracked by a lot of what's going on with their
Hmm.
with the things like that. And, as people, instead of saying, "Oh, we need to do this or we need to do that," we just need to do it. We need to take the young ones in, tell them the stories. Let them see it, let them share it, and, as well as ourselves, keeping all ourselves together, and being being that strong community of decent people doing decent things, like stone lifting.
Hmm.
And stone
Yeah,
lifting is for everybody. Everybody,
100%.
everybody who wants to reconnect and disconnect from the world as it is, and reconnect with something ancient, something old, something tribal, primal.
Hmm.
Irish stone lifting. Hard to beat it.
Band Valley or Band Lifting Club. Look them up. You know what? I'm gonna have them on the show. I think I need to have them on the show.
Yeah, get Dolores on.
Yeah.
Dolores and Sammy are absolutely fantastic. Hey, some, and I have the biggest, like, I respect for everybody, but I have so much respect for Dolores. Hey, she's such a warrior for what she does, and since she's really gotten in with the stones and helping her understand more about the historical side, and then the work she's doing now to create a modern stone thing here in the north, or in Ulster, along with myself and the Irish Stone Monsters and guys like that there, as well as the guys down south as well, Andy and Tiernan and David and them all.
Hmm.
You know, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's the people. The people are so important. The stones really are just a small part of it. The lifting
it
of the
is.
stones is just a small part of it.
Yeah.
It's what surrounds. It's what the stone surrounds itself with, is what's very important. Like, and
Yeah, and it's been a blessing doing this episode as well as all of the episodes because it has given me 100-fold back to the time I put into it. The connections I've made, the things that I've learned, the perspectives I've gained. There's a lot of different perspectives in the stone world, and we all don't have to agree on them. But I like being able to sit here and hold them all, and it's been it's been an incredible community building experience for me, for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, they're fantastic. And thanks so much for having me on. It was
No,
it was a
thank
real honor to be
you.
asked.
But you're not done yet. We still need 3 pieces of advice. I know you were talking about community, so you can use that as one of them. But we still need a couple pieces of advice as we roll out of this episode before we slant you.
Yeah. So 3 pieces of advice.
Yes, Martin. 3 pieces.
Don't eat yellow snow. Don't pee into the wind.
That's great. That's perfect.
Don't pee into the wind. No, I suppose don't ever be afraid to test yourself. Don't ever be afraid to push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of. Like I'm a 48-year-old diabetic, and I didn't get into this till I was 45 years of age, and it's absolutely changed my life completely, like for the better. So never be afraid to try something new, no matter what age you are. Second bit of advice is just always be kind. Hey, always be kind, and be kind and don't forget those people at the back. Be kind, never forget those people at the back. Make them as important as those guys that are standing right in front of you. Because in a way, everybody has something to give, and everybody has something to take. So always be kind to guys, to be guys and girls. And suppose the last bit of advice would be respect. When you're out there and you're lifting those stones, lift them for why they were lifted, the historical stones, and remember the people that came before, and respect their respect what they done, so you could do what you're doing today. And that'd be about it.
Well,
and don't cry. And don't cry.
Advice.
That's
no, you can do all the crying. No, thank you. That was absolutely wonderful and poignant advice as we exit out of this amazing episode, which could have continued on for another couple hours, I'm sure. But as you say, I'll have you back for a second as more stones are uncovered.
Can I just mention one wee thing before I go? Because
of course,
he'd be so annoyed if I forgot about him. A big shout out to Sean Mullins, Rockadale Dundee.
Yes.
Sean's in touch with me all the time, and such an amazing guy doing such amazing work, as much as everybody across the world is doing stone lifting. But Sean's just one of those guys that, yeah, I want to give him a shout out. And that was it.
No, and I appreciate giving him a shout out too, because he took a risk on being one of my first guests on the show. And now I'm 26 or 28 episodes in now. And, it takes people like that to say, hey, you know what? I support what you're doing. And I'm going to have him back actually as a bonus episode to give us an update on where he is. So shout out to Sean, doing great work. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure,
spending
Rebecca.
your afternoon with me.
No problem at all. And I'm sure it'll not be the last time we're chatting. I'll have plenty more. And I'll keep selling those challenges to you.
Yes, please do. Please do. And so as we exit this episode, I just wanted to say Sláinte again.
Pour me. What do you call it?
Yeah, get your mead.
No, I can only have a wee bit of this because it's very, very strong, and I have to go driving later on. I even put it in a wee small pint glass.
Oh, excellent. Well, Sláinte. That'll make you cry too.
No, Jesus. Oh, that's good. Girl, I want to get this in. Totally.
Well, thank you so much. And for those that have joined today, I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please don't forget to like and subscribe at the Stone Table Podcast on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much and have a great day, Martin. Take care. And so, as we were talking about, you incorporate music into things you do, and you play the guitar. So, for those that listened in, are going to get a special treat.
Here's what I made earlier. So this is an old. It's not an Irish speaking song, but it's an old Irish song that everybody knows. But I loved playing it. It was one of the first songs I ever learned on the guitar, and I'll play it now without getting emotional.
Okay, I might.
Of all the stars that ever shone, not one does twinkle like your pale blue eyes, or like golden corn at harvest time your hair, sailing in my boat the wind it gently blows and fills my sail. Oh, your sweet scented breath, it's everywhere. And daylight peeping through the curtains of the passing night time is your smile. And the sun in the sky is like your laugh. Come back to me, my Nancy, and linger for just a little while. Since you've left these shores, I've known no peace nor joy. No matter where I wander, I'm still haunted by your name. And the portrait of your beauty, well, it stays the same. Standing by the ocean, wondering where you've gone, if you'd return again. Oh, where is the ring I gave to Nancy Spain? Oh, winter turns to spring, the snow it starts to melt and streams to flow, and it's there with the birds I'll sing to you a song. And then I'd go and wander down by Bluebell Grove, where wildflowers grow, and I pray my Nancy she will return. No matter where I wander, I'm still haunted by your name, and the portrait of your beauty, well, it stays the same. Standing by the ocean, wondering where you've gone, if you'd return again. Oh, where is the ring I gave to Nancy Spain? Oh, where is the ring I gave to Nancy Spain?
That was so amazing. I absolutely am so lucky to have got to experience that firsthand. So thank you so much for doing that for us. It was absolutely beautiful.
No problem at all.